So I've been getting comments which uh, don't really offer a lot in terms of argumentation, but they do express a very strong uh, desire for me to shut up. And the main argument is basically that I should be ashamed of myself for thinking things. That's like in a nutshell. Now, they are trying basically to make me shut up. Or agree with what they think. Now, this is an interesting thing. So why do people want that? Why do people want the opinions of others to to be the same as their own? Well, there is an explanation. The theory itself explains it, but it's also a misunderstanding of the of reality, basically. Okay. So what's the basis of truth here? So the basis of truth is this. The theory, or the basis of truth according to the theory, is this. The way the body and the relation between the body and experience is such that experience is the propellant of change, of time, and if something persists, it is because experience makes the kind of takes the kind of leaps that ensures that that thing persists. And when I'm saying that thing, I'm talking about the bodily dynamics. The body makes experience assume that take experiential leaps, change the body in a way that there's a structure there that persists. The structure itself doesn't really exist. It's not that there's such a thing as a body, that as being a body that is not not the experiential counterpart. But the dynamic is there, and part of that dynamic is changing the body. Like that's how change works. And so the body incentivizes its experiential counterpart to try to change reality in change the body in specific ways, and by changing the body, it changes basically the universe as experience perceives it, and to change it in the social setting, which is ingrained into the necessities of the body. You need to achieve consensus, and therefore you have to make the bodies of everyone. When I'm saying body, I don't mean your corporeal body. I mean the universe, and everything that produces the universe. So the majority of the thing that produces the physical universe is identical in all of us, and so we are driven to change that, to change the objective substrate, to make sure that all of us reflect on a similar objective substrate. But the problem is that we don't perceive that objective substrate. What we perceive is, it's experience, it's forms. And the forms don't exist in the objective substrate. The forms exist in experience, or basically the forms are experience. So you can't change. You have the capacity to change the objective substrate you reflect on, to change the configuration by which you reflect on it. What you don't have the capacity is to determine how, even if you make it so that everyone reflects on the same objective substrate, whether the semantic meaning that they extract from it will be the same. And this is where even if everyone will agree on the physics, the semantics could be different, or necessarily are different, because at no point can you constrain the will. The will is causally independent of the objective substrate that it reflects on. It is causally independent of the physical world as you know it. So even if we all agree on the physics, we can disagree on the interpretation. We can all disagree on the semantics. And But we don't understand this structure. We think that we are the only sphere that we are exist in is the semantic sphere, and that is not the sphere that we can control. We cannot control how other people will interpret the objective substrate, even if it is the same. We cannot control that. So we are driven to make change. We are driven to make the body persist by the body, but by the body suggesting to us that the only viable way to persist is by changing and gaining dominance over the consensus in the objective substrate. But we all do it through a subjective semantic lens. And this is where the problem goes. Like, we think that we need to defeat the idea, but the idea cannot be defeated because the idea is experience, or basically the experiential movement that happens when you understand an idea. That's experience, and you cannot control that. You cannot control what's going to be the semantic, the experiential movement through which you understand, or someone else understands, the current state of affairs. So, but you don't understand that because you don't understand this. If you don't understand the distinction between experience and the body, if you're thinking in terms of consciousness, you don't see that. You don't see that you cannot control someone else's thoughts and semantics. You don't see that because you don't see the separation, and but you do see that there's something in the physical that you can, some in the physical aspects of consciousness that you can enforce on everyone. So you assume that if I'll enforce this, and the semantics would follow. They won't. So, and this is what so this is like a long way of explaining why the attempt to change or to force an idea, where it comes from. It comes from a completely natural place. But it's well, it's a mistake because well, first it's futile because again, you cannot change this. You cannot force anyone to understand something the same way you do. Just can't. Even they cannot force themselves to understand something the way they did at one time. It's just impossible. Like, period. Impossible. So you cannot do that. And it's annoying because you're used to a situation to live in a reality where if you hit, say, a table, you can move the table and then you don't hit it and again. If you hit your pinky toe and it hurts, you move the table, you won't hit it again. And you can't do that with people. You can't do that with experiential agents because you can't do that with semantics. You can't just push it to the side and then it will no longer be there. Yeah, and the sooner you understand this, the better, because, well, a lot of dark eras in history were due to this misunderstanding. And if you don't understand it now, you might be a part of that dark era.